Hello everybody and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. I will of course be your host for this evening, Callum. Hope you've all had a fantastic previous week. Hopefully you've managed to get out there and do some shooting. A little bit of a different intro for this evening. Of course, that full video, if you want to go and watch it again, is on the channel, and it's the highlight of the pretty incredible first ever IPSC level 3 practical shotgun match held at Recoil Scotland. Of course, I think it's more important than ever to be showing and demonstrating exactly what practical shooting is and exactly what Recoil Scotland is about after they came under attack more recently within the mainstream media. Hopefully now that it makes a little bit more sense why the Jolly Roger is flying above Recoil Scotland. Yes, they actually were crazy enough to build a pirate ship. So yeah, if you want to learn more about practical shooting, how to get involved, then check out the videos on the channel. There is plenty of stuff on here to learn more about it. And if you fancy competing in this year's, the 2023 Scottish Masters, there is a link to Shoot and Score It, so you can learn more information about that match. It will be in the chat box, so you can get signed up and come and compete. But yeah, before we get started, of course, this is interactive. There is a chat box. Don't be scared. I won't bite. You can ask questions, you can have your opinions heard, you can challenge what I'm saying, you can propose new angles or new ways to look at things. It's all about opening up discussion, talking about things that are important to this sport, and also what's important to this channel is that you remember to hit that like button. It's free, it takes a split second, and also if you enjoy these streams, if you enjoy the channel, enjoy the videos, or just like looking at my beautiful face, then hit that subscribe button as well to make sure that you see all the content in the future. Yes, just make sure you don't turn up to the Golf Masters. This is a very different sport, although you do have like different holes, different stages, and every stage is scored. So the occurring theme or reoccurring theme coming out of 2022 straight into 2023 is the reminder that our firearms licensing departments are not exactly in tip-top condition and certainly could do with a little bit more improvement. And this has come out again from BASC, and credit where credit is due. They are very much pushing this agenda that firearms licensing is broken, having recently and in crisis, having announced, I think it was only today, once again, that they have told a parliamentary committee inquiry that it is in crisis still, and there's loads of really important reasons of why it shouldn't be in crisis, not just so we can get our certificates, not just so that shooters can be out there owning firearms, competing in this incredible sport, but ultimately it's about public safety. So if firearms licensing is in crisis, if they are not doing their job, then they are not doing the checks that are required to keep people safe. Again, this is on the assumption that firearms licensing is what keeps people safe. As I always say, I am a supporter of our firearms licensing system here within the UK. I know there are people outside of the UK, perhaps even people within inside the UK, that would like to see it completely scrapped. But it is here, it does have a function whether we like it or not. So it's important that regardless of what you think of it, it is actually doing the job that it's there for, because that ultimately protects the sport. This is what we saw in Plymouth, massive failings of firearms licensing from Devon and Cornwall police, which led to somebody having a shotgun legally that quite clearly shouldn't have had it. And whilst I think overall most people get it's not the gun, it's not the, it's not necessarily firearms ownership that's the issue, and in that case it was very much the police's failings. It has sparked a lot of backlash from the gun control community, i.e. the people that are attacking recoil currently in pushing for banning pump action shotguns because the guy used a pump action shotgun. So it's important as a community that we don't allow these people to have these guns. Unfortunately, that's not down to us, it's down to the police. So we need to ensure that the police and firearms licensing are doing their job, because ultimately it all looks bad on us regardless. So the article that BASC has come out with, firearms licensing is in crisis, BASC tells parliamentary committee inquiry. And again, with this topic, they are not pulling their punches. They are really going hard on the police in the language that they are using. A largely unprofessional, overburdened and poorly resourced police licensing service puts public safety at risk, BASC has told a Home Affairs Committee inquiry into policing priorities. BASC's written submission to the inquiry is a broad sweeping critique of the current situation across 43 firearms licensing departments in England and Wales. Of course, the way firearms licensing is structured here within the UK is that every county has its own firearms department or firearms licensing department, and that's what gives us the 43. Some are merged, some do combined, so it's not an exact one-for-one match. The inquiry is focusing on the state of policing in England and Wales, highlighting low public confidence and damaging high-profile cases. It will examine what a modern police service should look like and how to ensure the higher standards among police officers. BASC's submission, which has now been published, concludes firearms licensing is in crisis. The 43 licensing authorities in England and Wales are unable to manage their workload, with some refusing to process grants and many taking more than a year to process renewals. A largely unprofessional, overburdened and poorly resourced police licensing service puts public safety at risk. Bill Harriman, BASC's Director of Firearms, said, although firearms licensing is only a microcosm of the total policing output, the issues raised by the Home Affairs Committee are reflective of the current licensing system we are witnessing. So, they do go on, but they are not. In terms of what BASC is proposing to solve this, they're fully admitting that it is quite a tough read for many of the constables, but BASC proposes the establishment of an independent regulatory body to oversee licensing departments. This will help begin to rebuild trust with the shooting community and boost performance and standards, key aims of the Home Affairs Committee inquiry. And this is something that has been covered previously. Of course, my favourite post from BASC this year was when they really dug deep into firearms licensing inconsistencies are systematic of wider police failings. And even out in this report, and this was published August 2022, so they did this report. Even within this report, they were calling for an independent body. This is something that I think resonates with a lot of certificate holders, a lot of firearms owners, or anybody within the shooting community, is you do feel that it's a sort of David and Goliath situation. If you ever have an issue, whatever issue that is, with firearms licensing, they very much have a reputation of being a rule to themselves. They're not really culpable to many other people, and when people write to the chief of police, who has effectively ultimate authority, responsibility and liability for firearms licensing, well, the chief of police isn't really interested in firearms licensing. It's probably a burden for them. It's probably something they probably don't want to be doing. So it's like, you just get, in my experience, you just get fobbed off to their secretary. They don't want to really give you the time of day. even when you go to the likes of your local MPs, they fully admit that they really have no remit over the police, certainly firearms licensing. They can apply potential political pressure in some means, but it's pretty much an empty threat. They can't force them to do anything. They can just write a strongly worded email. And in terms of independent complaints, or the independent police complaints, whatever, they've all got different names in different councils, but you know who I mean. The people that deal with complaints to the police historically have turned around and said firearms licensing is not our concern, that is not our bag. The firearms licensing department, they are not actually police officers. Whilst they are under the police, they are not actually police officers. So they're saying, well, you're not really, they're police staff, but you're not making a complaint against a police officer. And again, we don't really like dealing with this. Your police commissioners, they are the only ones that really do, again, historically sort of tweak up and will put more pressure and have the ability to put more pressure on the police. But it still leaves a lot of people feeling feeling very lost, very hopeless when they come up against issues with their firearms licensing department. We have a huge disparity in many different ways across our firearms licensing departments, from the levels of service that they deliver to interpretation and implementation of the law. And again, there is nobody ultimately or centrally to hold police accountable for the level of service and consistency that they are delivering in firearms licensing. We are seeing new schemed, more sort of general consistent training being rolled out to firearms licensing departments, but again, there is still no accountability for those standards to be maintained. I think most people do like the idea, if implemented correctly, of having an independent body that is going to hold them to account, somebody that is going to make sure that firearms licensing departments in the first instance are being consistent and they are being fair and they are delivering the service required, and also they have the mechanisms to then challenge and potentially reprimand them for not doing so. And I think a lot of people do have support for that idea. The other flip side that gets thrown around is actually scrapping how firearms licensing is at the moment and going for a centralized sort of department like the passport office, like the DVLA here, the driving standards agencies and stuff like that. And then if you have a central body, then that is going to give more consistency. That should lead to more efficiency. But even when I posted the link to the live stream on the Facebook page this evening, instantly there were people jumping on there wary of BASC, and unfortunately this is where we are. This is the situation that we are living in now in terms of firearms licensing and also our shooting organizations, is that there is a huge level of mistrust, and there really shouldn't be. We are incredibly, as a community, we're one of the most cooperative communities with the police, as it should be. But people, firearms licensing, firearms owners, certificate holders, are very wary, are very mistrusting of the police at the moment, and that's also stemmed into being very mistrusting of the likes of BASC and our large organizations. So people saying on the post, be careful what you wish for. People saying, because BASC has said that, what are we going to get next? Parliamentary review, more restrictions and additional cost. Well done there, just what we need. People complaining about how long it is taking them, and this is the worry. This is the be careful what you wish for. And there is the, I think, shared almost conspiracy that perhaps BASC is working behind the scenes with the police with the ultimate goal to reform firearms licensing. Is it going to be beneficial for firearms owners and certificate holders as a whole. When you look at what BASC is doing with lead, with this voluntary transition, which the majority of the shooting community is greatly opposed to, they're not exactly making decisions or trying to drive the sport in an area that necessarily its members agree with. What's to say that BASC doesn't help, for their own gain, doesn't help the police in steering firearms licensing in a way that we don't want it as the membership, as the the certificate holders, as the firearms owners, but it suits BASC, it suits the it suits the type of people that they want to keep happy, not necessarily the grassroots of the sport. So again, this theme is still recurring, it's still very fresh, it's being visited all the time. Where it is going to end up, I don't know, but I would put serious money at this point in time that we're going to have to see significant changes in firearms licensing. I haven't again even touched on the other big issue in terms of these renewals taking well over a year. At the end of the day, if you have people out there, if we have set out and agreed that 5 years is the period that somebody needs to be reassessed to make sure that public safety is maintained, if firearms licensing departments are taking a year, 2 years, if they're giving out these 12-month extensions, 6-month extensions that we're seeing, well, that means that there are more and more people going well past that 5-year period, and that is in essence putting, by the definition of the way that our firearms laws are, that is putting people at risk because people are going unchecked. It could only be a matter of time until somebody that would have been reviewed in that normal 5-year period has had a 12-month extension. Within that 12 months, their mental health deteriorates, their life deteriorates, and they go and do something horrific with a firearm that could have effectively been prevented if firearms licensing was working at full steam and full efficiency. But again, very strong words from BASC, a largely unprofessional. I think that really needs to be emphasized, how significant of use of language that is, because BASC needs to work with the police. There needs to be a level of working relationship for BASC to be in some way effective. And going and calling the police just outright largely unprofessional, that's a big line in the sand. I don't think they're necessarily unjustified in doing that, but it's, for the largest shooting organization out there to start calling firearms licensing largely unprofessional, that is a big step, and it is going to be applying pressure. At the end of the day, the government, the Home Office, they don't want the risk of firearms, right? And if the largest shooting organization is saying you need to do something about this and they don't, that is a massive liability on the Home Office, massive liability on the government, and if something bad happens, they are not going to look good at all. So yeah, let me know what you think. What would you prefer? Would you prefer a third-party independent body to sort of crack the whip with firearms licensing departments, given the power to actually, bully them into doing what they need to do? There needs to be a consequence. They need to have the mechanism to be able to punish them or reprimand them to a degree that they need, they want to do the job because the punishment is so severe. Would you prefer that route? Or do you think that we should go down a centralized firearms licensing department like the Passport Office, like the DVLA? I'd be interested to know what you think of both options, but the one that BASC is talking about at the moment is very much this third party. Alberto, seeing the Land Warrior Barrett banner made me think you were in Scotland. I was in Scotland during the filming of that video. That's where, at the start of the stream, that matched the 2022 Recoil Scotland Scottish Masters IPSC Level 3 Practical Shotgun match. That was held up there. That is literally the furthest in Scotland that I have ever been. I've been to the likes of the Lake District and Dumfries Galloway for the Scottish Championships, but yeah, never actually got as far up as the likes of Edinburgh and Glasgow. So it was a nice experience, a very long drive, I have to admit, but after our 5,000 miles in, what was it, 18 or 20 days earlier in the year. I'm sort of immune to long drives now. I don't think I've ever done so much driving in a short amount of time. Blackstone 45, where are the mags? The mags are coming. The mags are coming. It's been a turbulent couple of weeks. So we have the first production molds of the this is the Magload AR-22 magazines for the likes of the CMMG guns, the 1522, and they will also be compatible with small inserts into the magazine for like the likes of the Tippmann, the Chris Defiance, all sorts. So it's sort of like a universal 22 AR magazine. So we got those bits just before Christmas, and then Connor's decided to get COVID again, so he's been off sick, and he came back, I think, actually a little too soon. He was not well, visibly not well, and the last thing that he really wanted to do, whilst it is incredibly high priority for us, he didn't want to go down to the range. He was like, look, I don't, first of all, I don't think it's safe for me to necessarily be on the range with a firearm. Plus, my head is just not there to actually be constructive. So we have assembled a lot of the magazines. It is just doing the final QC. This is the first long production batch that we have had come in, so we need to get down and do sample testing of those magazines to make sure across the batch that they are consistent and they are working. Behind the scenes, there are a few people that have been sent magazines, purely test mags, just to increase the amount of testing that we're doing, just to get the mags out there testing in a range of different guns, different setups. So we are also waiting for feedback on those. But as soon as we are happy, as soon as it's like, right, these work, then, and they work in, they are consistent throughout the batch, then we will be hitting the button, then they will be sending out. So they are very, very soon going to be arriving. We're going to have another production batch come through very soon as well, and the injection molders are continuously refining and tweaking the production process, so they should only be getting better and better. But we are chasing them. We are acutely aware that we want to get these out as quickly as possible, and I may or may not be able to confirm that we are, of course, incredibly grateful for people's patience with the pre-order. We never expected for people to require this much patience. That was certainly never our intention there. But there will be a small gesture of thanks within all of the pre-order orders. So there is a little something. Pretty sure none of you will guess. It's not. We thought about doing like a discount or a gift voucher or something like that, and we thought, nah, that's just a little bit too plain Jane, maybe a little bit too predictable. But there is going to be a little treat in all of those pre-orders. So if you're on the fence about pre-ordering it and you want to, again, I'm not making any promises of when they are going to actually be released. You're actually going to get them, but if you want to take a chance that you're going to like this little gift, then I would say get your pre-orders in now. It's whatever, whether it's one mag or you've ordered 10 mag, it will be the same thing included in every order. So yeah, just little thanks, in a small way, a little bit of compensation for the wait, and we're sure if you're a real gun guy, you're gonna really like it. So there we go. There is the mag update. No more questions on mags, please. Rick B, been waiting 12 months for my first grant. Emailed my FEOs a couple of times and got the standard COVID response. Oh, come on. Like, again, just be honest, right? Like, just be honest about it. Stop. Like, everyone's forgotten about COVID now. Like, that is in the past. We are over that. We are back to normal. We're shaking hands. We're hugging, kissing with tongues. You know, well, that's just the magload approach anyway. But, you know, we're back to normal. And meanwhile, the police are like, no, COVID. No. You've lost the plot, basically. You know, as BASC have said, you're being unprofessional, you're overburdened, and you're poorly resourced. Like, just be honest, right? That would, I think, be, you know, what's like the first stage, like, you know, acceptance. Just accept that you're not doing the job properly, and there's nobody to, you know, to blame other than yourselves. It's not about new statutory guidance. It's not about COVID. It's about the police not prioritising and allocating the right level of resources to firearms licensing. Just be honest about it. That's going to be more tolerable rather than this sort of bullshit approach of let's blame everything else other than ourselves. What else? Don't get me started. BASC have proved themselves to be too weak in the face of opposition to shooters and shooting. Again, a sentiment that a lot of people share. Richard Wayne, I'd like to see an independent body not only hold firearm departments accountable, but they should also be used as tribunal service regards gun grabs, grant refusals, etc. before having to go to courts. That is a very interesting point, not something that I think has been brought up previously, and 100% I agree. We've talked so many times that, you know, firearms licensing use the courts as a strong arm approach. At the end of the day, they've got effectively a unlimited budget when it goes to court. They've got in-house counsel. They have budgets to go and hire and contract professionals and specialists in firearms law. They don't care they don't care about using taxpayers' money to go to court. They don't care if they win. They don't care if they lose. But this is why it's incredibly important for you to have legal expenses insurance, because they will try and use that. If you don't have legal expenses insurance and you can't afford to go to court, you can't afford to challenge their decision. So yes, it would be great to have some sort of buffer or blocker in between that just gives a chance. What level of chance I don't know, but a chance that it can be resolved amicably and sensibly without having to go to court. That is ultimately going to save the taxpayer a lot of money, because, you know, win or lose, it still costs taxpayers money. Even if you lose and you have to pay, you know, the court's costs and you have to pay the police's side of things, then, you know, there's still other costs attributed in doing that. It doesn't capture the full cost either side. You know, what I would like to see in that regard is make it so you have the right to appeal, but also there can be no financial burden put on you if you are unsuccessful. That would put the ball very much in our court, going, look, I have literally nothing to lose to take you to court. I think that's the way it should be. The financial penalty should not be a decision in either going to court or not going to court. If you feel aggrieved, like, of course, I'm sure you will get people that will just be more blasé about it and potentially waste court time. But it shouldn't be a weapon for the police to be able to use in beating you into submission. And at the moment, the only way to combat is to make sure that you have legal expenses insurance, and you can sit there and go, I'll see you in court. I'm not going to be picking up the bill either way. Christopher Toner, it worked brilliantly in Scotland with the centralisation of licensing. Yes, this is a topic that I certainly want to explore a lot more, in the sense that Scotland ended up amalgamating all of their firearms licensing departments. So whilst you will still have, you know, your representative FEOs, and yes, there's still going to be potentially a little bit of inconsistency between each FEO. They're all going back to the same office. They're all sort of reading from the same or singing from the same hymn sheet, and the overall management and head of those departments is going to be instructing them all exactly the same. The biggest plus that I see it's not necessarily just about consistency, but it's about the efficiency. You know, it's sort of standard business. If you've got these 43 different licensing departments, that's 43 different offices, right? That's 43 budgets for IT and stationery, 43 budgets for your head of firearms licensing. It's very inefficient having all of these sort of satellite operations, when actually if you combine them all, you can trim a lot of fat. You can save a hell of a lot of money when it comes to the infrastructure, when it comes to things like computer equipment, even training. So efficiency is a big thing that is needed in firearms licensing, and if they have more money, if they have more time and they are more efficient, then it should be a service improvement for us, because it's going to mean a quicker turnaround time for certificates. The trouble with centralizing is if it goes wrong, i.e. computer hacking, it goes wrong for everyone. Currently, not everyone has a crap firearms department. Yes, yeah, that is a consideration. You know, I'm sure there are people out there that their firearms licensing departments are one of the good ones and they get great service from, and they're like, I don't want to change this. Like, it's probably only going to get worse for us. Well, just spare a thought for everyone that's living in certain areas on the south coast. And in terms of computer hacking, though, I don't think that's necessarily it's most definitely a concern, but it's not. It's already an issue, or potentially an issue, because of the firearms licensing management system. I can't remember. Basically, there is already a centralized firearms database, and this is not. I don't think it's actually up and running in all firearms departments, because, you know, efficiency. But there is this centralized firearms management system, which is a national scheme. It's a national system that any firearms licensing department can log into and see details. So that centralized system, central source of information, is already there, and the risks of that being hacked and that information going out is already there. But, you know, that is the world that we live in. Things, you know, we do live in the cloud effectively. You just have to maybe put some trust that they've been a little bit more secure than some companies we've seen in the past. But yeah, Alberto, DVLA is quite fast and efficient. Would really appreciate that level of professionalism, and I don't think there's any reason why they can't emulate that like the DVLA. HMRC, I know nobody has a good story. Every time I talk about HMRC to anybody, everyone seems to have a bad experience. I think that's just because they're taking your money. That's why nobody likes HMRC, right? But every time I have dealt with them, it has been absolute. It's not been a pleasure, because again, you're trying to talk to them about taking your money, or sometimes taking less money or trying to give some money back. That's more enjoyable. But they are efficient. You phone up, you tell them what the problem is, they put you through to the right department, and they're very quick to identify, oh yeah, we've made a mistake. And not only that, but they give you the option. Do you want your tax code adjusted and be, you know, repaid this over a certain time, or do you want us to cut you a check? And you're like, oh, I'd like the money now, please. Cool, no worries. They've always been, in my experience, very easy to deal with, very efficient, very quick, very knowledgeable, and just an overall pleasure in something that really isn't overly that pleasurable to deal with. So yeah, these centralized government departments already work very well. You know, again, passport office is one that gets a lot of heat. I think that's usually because the people complaining about it have left it to the week before they fly out on a holiday, and suddenly it's somebody else's fault that they now need a passport in a ridiculously short time, and end up going and spending a ridiculous amount of time queuing at the passport office in London, and then paying a ridiculous expedited fee. Again, if you plan out and you use the service as it is intended, and you're not in a dead rush for it, the passport office for me has always been an ease to deal with. So yeah, centralized government departments seem to work and seem to be incredibly efficient. Happy, I would definitely prefer centralization. The English squirreler, that's one you don't want to be saying after a few beers. My friend has been waiting on his grant for an FAC for nearly 18 months. Apparently there is only one CEO for your county. Geez, yeah, talk about under-resourced. Very beneficial for it to be single office. That way the entire nation's focus and voice would all be in unison and able to stand together against any unjust action. Absolutely. Alberto Lamwaria has a 15-yard indoor shooting and some fun toys. Frankengun as the 9mm lever action M4 I talked about some time ago. Or maybe next time I'm up that way I'll have to drop in and have a look. Gers Roberts, I assume both UK PSA and CPSA have legal expenses cover. Yes, they do. I'm not entirely sure. I will have to check this. I think it's at discretion. The UK PSA 100% has legal expenses insurance if you have a revocation. I don't know if their insurance does cover the refusal element, but I know that there have been discussions previously of basically the organization helping people that have been refused and still using that, basically supporting them and aiding them in that process. So yes, if you're already a certificate holder, then yes, the UK PSA legal expenses insurance will cover you for a revocation. In terms of the CPSA, which is one of the organizations that I recommend joining purely for the purpose of legal expenses insurance, that's more, well, purely for the purpose of legal expenses insurance, but also the in-house counsel for the CPSA is my solicitor, which is Laura Sainsbury, who is pretty much the foremost expert when it comes to, well, she's like the foremost firearms solicitor within the UK. She's used both by firearms certificate holders or striving certificate holders, but also she works for the police, she works for the Home Office, she works both sides of it, she sees it from both sides of it, and that is an incredibly, and I've already seen this multiple times in the way that she's dealt with my cases, is that she knows how they play the game, because she's been on that side playing the exact same game with them. So she knows how they work. She also has, very up to speed with the contacts, who people are, who she needs to talk to, and what buttons to press to get stuff done. So, that's the biggest benefit of going for the CPSA, is that you, in essence, if the insurance kicks in, you get Laura Sainsbury, but also it covers both the refusal of a grant and also the revocation. It is only for a shotgun certificate, so this doesn't just limit it to getting back your shotgun certificate, but if you are a sole firearm certificate holder, then the insurance won't kick in. You need to have that shotgun certificate for the CPSA insurance to kick in. That can either be a coterminous or just have a separate FAC and an SGC. So yes, there's a potential gap there, but pretty much if they're taking away your firearm certificate, they're taking away your shotgun certificate, and the CPSA will fight to get your shotgun certificate, which sort of by association will overturn the decision as well for a firearm certificate. But yes, there's none of that with the UK PSA. It will cover, I believe, both the shotgun certificate and firearm certificate, but I believe it's also just in the case of a revocation. Crypto Sam, how you mate? I've been shooting for 3 years, not including COVID lockdown, using gun clubs. I decided to put in for an FAC application. How much 22LR and 223 ammo should I ask for? Well, this really does depend on your your own needs. So for those of you that don't know, for a firearm certificate here within the UK, we have ammunition limits. This is the ultimate limit that you can store at any one time, and effectively is also your buy limit. So if you have 1,000 rounds of 22 LR, well, you can only have 1,000 rounds on you, which means you can only buy 1,000 rounds, but you can't buy 1,000 rounds if you have an extra 200 at home, because that's going to put you at your 1,200 over that 1,000, and then you're in breach of your firearm certificate. Now, it really does depend what disciplines you're taking part in, how much shooting you're doing, how regular you're doing it, how much ammo you think you're going to be putting down range. The way I like to look at it is that I first of all, in terms of the limits that I went for, I want to be able to buy in, good numbers. So for 2.2, I want to be able to buy in thousands, right? You get a price break at 1,000, and it's just easier to buy them. Mini mag, yes, you can buy it in hundreds, but it comes in 500 bricks. I think CCI standard as well comes in 500 bricks. So you want to be able to buy in those round numbers, because you also get the discount. I think that's perfectly reasonable, and also you want to be buying potential batches. You want to be buying 1,000 of that particular batch, because if it's a good batch, then it's going to be consistent throughout that 1,000. If you're buying 100 at a time, then the consistencies may vary, certainly with something as comparatively inconsistent as 2.2. So yeah, I would say for 2.2 you want to be going for so 2.2 LR, you want to be going, I would say, no less than 3,000. That allows you to store, at least 1,000 at home. That then also allows you to have buy 1,000 if you need on top of that, and then ammunition that you might have on you at your range. So and there may be different types of 2.2 you want to have. If you've got a gun that's you're going to be shooting standard, if you've got an LBP and you want to run standard through it, well, you want to have 1,000 rounds of standard. And then let's say you've got a rifle that you want to be running high velocity through, you're going to want 1,000 of that as well, and then also you're going to want that buffer to be able to buy it. Buy 1,000 rounds of each when you start getting low. So 3,000 I think is a sort of a bare minimum. I know there's a lot of practical shooters, because practical shooters in mini rifle or shooting LBP, they're going through, well, we go through thousands and thousands of rounds in a season. When we buy it's different because we are testing as well, but we are training and we are competing. But I think at the moment, we buy about 10,000 rounds of CCI. That's sort of our standard purchase, and we'll be placing that purchase at least once a year. I'm pretty much the sole user of CCI at Magload. Connors was using more Ely, so I think we'd bought, it was about 5,000 rounds of Ely for Connors to use, and Paul will also use some tends to use CCI as well. So again, that's and we will easily get through that sort of quantity in testing and training and going out there and competing, and also selling it to customers. I think Connors might even have 5,000 rounds of 2.2 on his FAC. I know of target shooters, and you might not think that proper prone target shooters, Olympic sort of style shooting, they're going to be getting through a lot of ammo. But I have seen some ridiculous numbers on theirs, like 10, 20,000 rounds, because again, they want to be doing batch testing, and when they find a batch that they really like, they want to buy a heap of it so that they know, again, it's going to be consistent for a long time, and they're not going to have to do more batch testing. 223, again, it depends what you're going to be doing with it. Some people, like personally, I think 300 rounds, you probably want to be buying it again in hundreds. So you're going to want that 100 potentially at home, so that you're not running out. You want to be able to buy 100, and then you want that sort of 100 sort of shooting supply, so yeah, 300. But as David's put, he thinks it's 1,000 for 223. Again, only you can really gauge what the sort of usage you're going to have, and therefore what sort of ammunition you're going to need. So yeah, just don't ask your FEO. That's my only advice. Most FEOs will always try to limit your number, and you've got to be strong. You've got to stand strong. If you really believe you need a certain number of ammunition, and you can demonstrate that. If they turn around and say, no, I think that's too much, I think you can't justify having that much, politely, calmly, constructively say, well, actually, this is the reason why. I had that with slug. A lot of firearms licensing departments really don't like putting a lot of slug ammo on people's certificates, but you can actually point them towards the UK PSA. Let's see if I can quickly find it. Ammunition. So I applied for 100 in my variation that I first got slug, and he tried to put me down to like 25 or 50, and I'm like, you can go. There are some matches where you'll have, like Cottesloe Heath at the NRA, I think they have like a 70 or 80 round slug stage or something ridiculous. Like, you can easily, in some matches, you will easily use over 50 rounds. So I was like, 100 doesn't, it really isn't that much. Certainly if you're going out there and practicing. But I know you haven't asked about slug, but this is actually an interesting post. So from the UK PSA, they've actually given guidance on slug ammunition. So the national governing body for practical shooting actually suggests 300 slug. This was back, so the reason they've got 300 held, 250 buy, this was because it was back at a time where you did have a hold limit and you did have a buy limit. And the reason, again, slug only matches, 120 plus targets. As a rule of thumb, you want to take double the amount of ammunition that you're going to need because of reshoots, because of top-ups and stuff like that. A standard match course of fire, 28 targets, 2 hits required for each paper target. So if you have a full 28 target slug stage, you can be looking at 56 rounds of slug in one stage, in one competition alone, which again bolsters I think there was another page, this isn't the original page that I found, but this has sort of been this has been talked to the police with and agreed with the police. So yeah, another avenue would be talking to a national governing body and seeing, if you feel that you need 5,000 rounds of 2.2 and your FEO doesn't want to give it, then get your national governing body to support you with that. Oh dear, what's having? Batch consistency, great wording, yes. Yeah, as a practical shooter, again, if your FEO knows anything about the disciplines that you're doing, if you say, batch consistency, and I'm a practical shooter, he's probably going to be like, yeah, accuracy is important. Like, absolutely it is. But we're not, we're not that, I'm not that worried about, well, certainly I'm not that worried about accuracy. It doesn't need to be that accurate that you're going out there and batch consistency. Consistency in terms of reliability, absolutely, not necessarily accuracy, not to the levels that, say, a target rifle shooter would. But yes, they are the magic words, the same magic words like, hearing protection for a suppressor or silencer moderator. They can't argue with that because, again, it's about liability. If you ask for a moderator because of hearing protection and they say no, and then you go deaf, well, Your Honour, I asked for a moderator, they said no, and now I'm deaf, so who's paying for the hearing aids? Not sure what the average waiting time for an FAC application. I am in Wiltshire and I have been advised not to bother as there is a minimum of a 2-year wait currently, again because of COVID. Like, absolutely ridiculous. HMRC has been given 3 months to sort themselves out or go out or go in special measures this week. Anybody have any idea of Hampshire's current wait list? I've been getting the same letter for months now telling me they're trying their hardest but not getting there. Heppy, your FAC took nearly 12 months. One can only dream. When did I... Let's have a bit of an update. When did I have my... So, I mean, it took like a couple of years to actually get my my interview. That's mainly because Hampshire decided to investigate me for areas of law they clearly had not the foggiest level of understanding. So that had to be sorted out first. There will be more on that at some point. But yeah, I had my interview with my FEO, who's Hampshire. I am based in Hampshire, on the 26th of April. So yeah, that was a while. That's obviously 2022. So we're getting up to, Jesus, like, it's just sad. How many, so it's like May, June, July, August, September, November, not September, October, November, December, January. So we're getting up now to 9 months. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily down to the lack of resource. Bearing in mind, I think it was like Heppy was saying when you came down that it was only 2 or 3 months after your interview that you got your FAC. So I don't know. Perhaps mine's got lost in the post. But yeah, see how that one goes. Hampshire's FEO guidance is currently 1,200 for a grant. What, 2-2? Yeah, because the majority of the people that are applying are going out there doing target rifle or a bit of hunting. Then, you know, I mean, we can go and do easily like 500 rounds in a session, just training, just drilling. You know, and a match, like, we will take 1,000 rounds minimum to a match. Like, no questions asked. Like, you need to be having more. And you can't, you know, what happened, and especially as well with supply issues. I mean, you know, Ely, I don't think there's any supply of practical ammo from Ely at the moment. CCI is hit and miss. Either GMK have a load of it or they have none of it. So, you know, yeah, like, you know, stockpiling is not a good reason, you know, but you definitely need, I think it's a justifiable reason to say, look, I need to make sure that I've got enough ammunition for the season, right? There's no point me spending hundreds of pounds going and competing in national level competitions that, you know, to go and win the overall championship at the end of the year, if after the first match I don't have enough ammunition for the rest of the season. You know, it's that sort of undue stress. So, that's why we put in an order for a load of ammunition at the beginning of the season to make sure that we've got it. And we all, and of course, you know, there's friends and you know, Team Magload members that go, right, I can't get this ammunition, I need it, and we have a good reserve. So yes, if you do need any 2.2, you might have to sweet talk us. I'm not promising anything, but we can hook you up if things do run dry. You got your FAC 2 weeks after your interview. Yes, and I'm currently on 9 months. Utterly ridiculous. Meanwhile, like, you know, I don't. Are you happy for me to disclose, Heppy, why you were visiting Magload recently? That will be, you know, that's just an interesting. You know, I can't have an FAC, but, you know, let me know if you're happy for me to disclose why you were there, or are you keeping it secret? Have you got a missus that you don't want it being aired to? He's sat there now, you know, next to his missus, and he's going, why were you at Magload? No reason. No, there's obviously a reason, and, you know, it's not going to be one that I like. feel free. Great. Not going to drop you in any trouble. Yeah, so Happy came down to pick up a new gun because, you know, I know there's a lot of RFDs out there that charge to receive, and I'm going to regret doing this. It's going to become a bloody mailing sorting centre for firearms. But a lot of RFDs do charge to receive a RFD transfer. So again, for those that don't know, when you're sending guns around the country within the UK, it can only be when it's, you know, Section 1 and Section 2 guns, even air guns. It has to be an RFD transfer. The only people that can send in the post, it is a special service with Parcel Force, but the only people that can send guns in the post via Parcel Force and receive guns in the post are registered firearms dealers. Magload has a registered firearms dealership, so we can receive and send guns, and we don't charge to receive them. It's like ultimately, and there's going to be so many RFDs out there going, shut the hell up, this is major bread and butter for us. But I don't get it. Well, I get that there is a element of liability because you are in charge and responsible for that gun. You know, that could lead to issues with insurance. You may, if you have a lot of guns coming in, you might need to increase your insurance. There's a little bit of admin with it as well, so there is a little bit of time, you know, in terms of a little bit of aggro, but it doesn't cost an RFD to receive stuff. It does cost to send. I think we charge, I think it's in the region of, it's actually £40 or £50 now, and again we charge, I think, either exactly cost or maybe a little bit over cost to cover up, you know, packaging, because we have to make sure that the gun is in a fit state to survive Parcel Force. But yeah, it's not something that we look to make money on. So, you know, Happy very kindly, well, not very kindly, but very nicely asked if we would receive one of his new gun. I believe it was a Tikka TX1 or TX1 or something like that. It's the 2.2 bolt action rifle. Really nice. I really like Tikkas. Really rate those. Really rate those guns. Absolutely pinpoint accurate. But it was technically myself that sold it, although the transaction had technically already taken place at the RFD. You know, so that's it. I can legally receive a gun, book it onto our logs, and then book it out to an FAC holder. But I can't hold an FAC myself. I can sell guns, I just can't buy them personally. You know, it's like, oh, you can't have an FAC, you're a danger to the public. But we'll let you sell guns to people, no problem at all. Like, it's just, it makes no sense. I think even at this point, Hampshire are going, like, oh, we literally can't anymore. We literally can't. Like, we're just gonna have to cave in. You know, I don't know what they're worried about. I don't know what they expect to happen as soon as the FAC hits on the floor. Like, suddenly it's going to be Armageddon. Like, you know, I have access, literally have the keys to an armory with like 100 firearms in it. I don't know, like, giving me a personal certificate so I can have them sat behind me in the safe. What like, oh, he's dangerous. We can let him have access to a whole RFD of firearms, but no, can't bring him home to a safe. God knows what will happen. Anyway, Matty Howarth, cheers for the advice. Finally got FEO booked in to come round. Awesome, good to hear. Make sure you've got tea, coffee, biscuits. It's the number one way to get your FEO on side. I was going to go on to something maybe a little bit more positive, let's say, thinking to the year ahead. And one of the first things when we clock into a new year, what I'm thinking ahead of usually is shows. So in order of what they're going to be, the first show, what really I think, I say it every year, like kickstarts the shooting season, and is really like, right, we're back into the new year now, like here we go, is the British Shooting Show. And I know there's a lot of people that, you know, certainly, was it last year or maybe the year before, A lot of people weren't particularly happy with the increased fees, with the parking fees, this, that, and the other. It does look like they've made a number of improvements. I believe parking is free again now for 2023. But regardless, I love going to the British Shooting Show. You know, yes, working in the industry, like it's a bit of networking. There's a commercial element in terms of going and seeing people and talking to them face to face and catching up. But I love going to the shows. I love seeing all the new products. I love getting literally hands-on with a lot of stuff. And of course, it's a fantastic opportunity for the channel to make content, to show new stuff to you guys. I still actually have one video that I want to release from last year of Connor's buying a shotgun. But yeah, anyway, the British Shooting Show, the first sort of major show of the year, will be the 17th to the 19th of February, and it's held at the NEC in Birmingham. It's overall a great venue. It doesn't have the same feel as Stoneleigh. I know there's a lot of people that will remember when the Great British Shooting Show was at Stoneleigh. Yeah, it was a much more homely sort of communal feel. The NEC is a little bit sterile in that sense, but the show got too big. It literally couldn't sustain itself within Stoneleigh anymore, so it moved to the NEC. But yes, I will 100% be there. I'm planning to be there for all 3 days. It runs the Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Again, not exhibiting, not going there as Magload per se, but I'm pretty sure Connors will be joining, and Arian as well, who's helping out with the channel filming, editing, will also be there. So if you want to kick off the year with the first show, then it's got to be the British Shooting Show. And if you want to come along and catch up, I always say, like, if you spot me at a show, I love like talking to people face to face from the channel. Come and say hi, come and say hello. Again, I know Connors looks like he might bite you. He's actually a gentle giant behind the beard. But yeah, I think our goal is at some point for Magload to have a stand at the British Shooting Show. It's just not really our target market, if I'm going to be completely honest. And it is very shotgun focused. They do a lot to expand that, and they have done a lot to expand that in previous years. But it's certainly a lot more country sports, sort of field sportsy, not as much target shooting, certainly not as much practical shooting. And it's a lot of work for us for the show. So we like just going there to spectate, as it were, and also go around the other exhibitors that are there to catch up. So after the British Shooting Show, there are going to be loads of other shows that I'm missing, but these are sort of the staple three for me. After the British Shooting Show this year, we've then got the Northern Shooting Show, which is the 6th to 7th of May, so a little bit later. But Magload will be there. We will have a stand, and we are currently working out about having an actual range there at the show. So again, we were sort of umming and ahhing about doing the Northern Shooting Show as Magload. Again, it is very country sports, field sportsy. Again, it's a lot of time, a lot of aggro going and doing these shows, and we're predominantly an online retailer. So it's not like we really set up as, say, a physical shop. We deal in the ether effectively. But when we got talking to them about it, and they were like, look, what do you want to try something different? And we're like, well, absolutely, we'd love to. We'd love a range. So we're not just talking about a shotgun range, we're actually talking about having a mini rifle range as well. So a little bit of pay and play, a bit of product demonstration. It means we're going to be outside, so we are going to be under the mercy of the British weather. But we want to show off the sport. It's not just about our products. We want to be able to show practical shooting to the masses, and we think the Northern Shooting Show is a fantastic place to do that. So it's going to add another element to our store. So we're really looking forward to it. But the Northern Shooting Show is, in my opinion, just an absolutely fantastic day out. It's not just a shooting show. It is one that certainly the kids are going to enjoy, the family are going to enjoy. They have stuff like axe throwing. They have the shooting line, so you can actually go and pull some triggers, throw some lead down range, and it's a much, I think, a little, bit more family orientated rather than just a gun show. They have the dog demonstrations, all sorts of entertainment and stuff going on, and they usually have the talk, or like the talking hut that I've done a couple of years. So again, highly recommend going to the Northern Shooting Show, and if you want to come and see the full Magload team and see exactly what we do in person, then the Northern Shooting Show will be a great opportunity for that. And then afterwards, although it's not exactly confirmed what's going on, is the Target Shooting Show. Again, this is one of our favorites because it is the Target Shooting Show. This is exactly what we're about. So Magload will, again, if there is one in 2023, dates, unfortunately it was cancelled in 2022, and at the moment it's just saying show postponed to 2023. So there's no update at the moment of when that is going to, if it's going to happen, or when it's actually going to happen. Here's a little Easter egg for you. So I actually did the logo for the Target Shooting Show, and I couldn't resist. That's actually a silhouette of me. So I love every time I see this logo, and certainly when it's blown up into a huge scale at the front of the show, I'm up there looking down on everybody. So there was this joke that I did actually at some point hide a little slogan in there, just as a joke when I was making it. I won't reveal what that was said, and luckily I didn't leave it in there, because that logo got blown up to such a big scale at the front of the show, you would have been able to see it, and it wouldn't have gone down particularly well. But anyway, highly recommend doing this. Certainly if you're into your target sports, there's a lot of demos going on. There was a VR stand in 2021, Action Air, and also being at Stoneleigh, they did have a hands-on shooting area. So again, it's a good day. You can actually get behind a gun, start pulling triggers, and again, if it does go on, Magload will 100% be there. So yeah, you have other shows like the game fair. There's various different game fairs. There's like the main game fair, and then you have like the Welsh game fair, I think maybe even the Yorkshire game fair, and there's other like little shooting shows that pop up here and there. There will be another open day at Magload in the summer. We want to sort of expand that, get even more stands down there, more different businesses, companies, and sort of make it like almost like a southern shooting show to an extent, but not to compete with the likes of the Target Shooting Show or British Shooting Show or Northern Shooting Show. But yeah, those are the three that I put them in the calendar when the dates were all released, and it's like, right, I'm going to those shows 100%. So yeah, something, I'd get your tickets and go to those. I think certainly if you've not been to them, you will have a good good time. Crypto Sam, appreciate everybody's friendly advice here. One last question: any advice on Lantac 223 or their 2.2 version and the Typhoon F12 Maxi mag fed shotguns? Right, Lantac, good guns, bad company. I'll keep it as simple as that. They make I will expand because that's just what I do. They make great products. They make great guns, but loads of people repeatedly are let down by their customer service. More recently, there's been pretty significant QC issues with their guns, and that happens, right? Any company. It happens at Magload. It happens at any other gun builders in the UK. Shit happens. It's how you deal with that shit that really sets you apart. And Lantac don't have the best reputation for customer service. So in terms of the actual product, yeah, no problem, solid choice. In terms of buying into a brand or giving your money to somebody that you can entrust, go to the likes of Otto at Cotswold Classic Arms, go to Caliber Innovations, go to Northwest Custom Parts, Caliber Innovations, Northwest Custom Parts, Cotswold Classic Arms. They all have superb customer service. Wayne at Northwest Custom Parts, fantastic customer service if you're not a bellend. He he will, and I have seen him do it, he will not hesitate to tell someone they are being an utter bellend. And I don't think that's necessarily bad customer service, but it's certainly a different style of customer service. So, you know, when he tells people it's going to be 3 to 4 months, don't phone him up after 2 weeks and say, where's my gun? Right? So a lot of these, bespoke gun builders, Northwest Custom Parts, Cotswold Classic Arms, Caliber Innovations, they're dependent in a flow of parts coming from all over the world. And sometimes there's snags. They get held up in customs. There's delayed. Because we're in the UK, we don't get particularly highly prioritized. But all of those three, it's worth going to them. It's worth exploring their options. And they all have fantastic customer service. If there is something wrong, they will fix it. They will support you, and they won't swear at you. Maybe Wayne aside, they certainly won't swear at you for a reasonable request, like, please can you fix the gun that you obviously haven't made correctly. So yes, but all of them, you're most likely, even Lantac, you're going to have a wait. It's just the thing. If you want a high end or sort of custom build rifle, there's going to be a bit of a waiting. But yeah, personally, I would go to the other guys and tell them, that's the thing about going to those specific companies, is that they will build exactly what you want, the exact Cerakote, all the drop-in components. There's less flexibility with that with Lantac. It's pretty much an off-the-shelf gun that you're still going to wait 12 months for. In terms of the Typhoon F12, if you're talking about practical shotgun, don't shoot open. Just don't do it. Don't subject yourself to the torture. Box-fed, mag-fed shotguns, they just don't work, right? Even when you go and spend £6,000 on a Dissident KL12, right, it's still not as reliable as £1,000 Benelli M2 or £1,000 1301, right? And they're not exactly infallible, right? Shotgun reliability with a shotgun, it's not necessarily about aiming for 100% reliability. It's an acceptable level of reliability. When it comes to open guns, the acceptable level of reliability is significantly lower. So yeah, and the Typhoon F12 is one of the more reliable box-fed guns. It's certainly one of the more popular ones. There is a lot of people that do rate them and do recommend them, but the problem is they're not built to last. They are a very cheap box-fed shotgun, and the story that I say to people is that Ben Ducker, who shoots open, he's part of Team Magload, shoots practical shotgun to a very high level. He ended up transitioning away from a Typhoon F12 to a Dissident KL12. He used to take effectively a whole gun's worth of spare parts when he was running the Typhoon F12. He said every component at some point broke on it. And the way that I have never seen a gun that is more convoluted in the way that you have to take it down to be able to do basic maintenance and cleaning on it. The Typhoon F12, yes, people rate about it. I don't think it's the best gun out there. The Magload, i.e. sort of Connor's recommendation for a box fed, is actually the Armsan RSS1. Those things are built like absolute tanks. They are up there in reliability. Yes, the KL12s are reliable. They are the most reliable box fed shotgun. But they cost £6,000. You can get into an Armsan for under £1,000. Yes, it's not as competition ready as a KL12, but there are a couple of people here in the UK that have basically created like Dissident clones. They've got the Armsan RSS1 and bought in various bits from Dissidents to make it their own sort of KL12. That, I think, is the best route ultimately in open or box fed shotguns. If you're not interested in practical shotgun, that's where the Armsan does initially fall down compared to the Typhoon, because the Typhoon has all the different faster, easier, more ergonomic controls. But if it's not practical shotgun that you're going into and you want just a box fed 12 gauge for a bit of fun, go for the Armsan. A lot more reliable out of the box than anything even close to it in terms of price. The Typhoon will not last. We have seen horrific failures with them after only like a few thousand rounds. They are not particularly high quality long guns. Make sure to wear a tall hat or flag so people can find you in the crowd. Well, Daniel's just gone further down on the mag list. What did we say last time? 12 blocks down. You're now a good 24 blocks down the road now. I think we said it may be the second or third batch. Definitely the fourth or fifth batch now, my friend. And you've only got your you've only got yourself to blame. Aaron T, will you be doing a review on the Lantac 223 straight pull? If somebody would like to lend me a 223 straight pull from Lantac, then yes, yeah, I will. But I'm not buying one. That's for certain. I'm not buying one to do the review. If somebody would very kindly want to lend one, again, we've got the RFD. We can take it in and store it for me to do the review. More than happy to do it. And not necessarily going to say too much, but something that we have been striving for is a place not only for us to personally regularly train, but also to film, both for Magload in terms of promotional, but also for the channel, and also test out guns, again to review and for Magload. But we may have found somewhere. We went for a very interesting meeting on Tuesday, just off of the M4, to talk about a place where we could regularly just show up for a few hours, do what we need to do, be that train, be that film. So one of the issues that I've had for a long time is that we've got a range right by Magload, but they're a bit of an older boys club. If I'm going to be completely honest, like the membership there have been superbly friendly and welcoming, and have shown a keen interest. There's actually, I know there's a few of them that watch these videos, so hello, anybody from Haven't Rifle and Pistol Club, and I'm a probational member there, but I will be a full member at some point. But they're just not they're not that comfortable about filming at the moment. So it's I want to continue my own shooting. It's predominantly mini rifle training that I do there, and has been a bit of testing for Magload as well, and it's good to go and check zero and check builds of guns there to make sure that they're functioning and that they're on target. So yeah, it's frustrating because it's a fantastic facility, fantastic range. You can shoot pretty much and everything there, but not being able to film, it's like dangling this carrot. It's like I could be making so many videos here, but they're just not comfortable with that at the moment, and I do respect that. So it's finding somewhere that we can regularly go to. Won't even try or entertain filming at Bisley. I just do not want to waste my time. Again, the amount of time and effort that I have spent literally trying to promote what the NRA does and promote Bisley, only to have it thrown back in my face. Not falling for that one again. So sort of filming at Bisley is out of the cards. The NSRA did actually used to make a lot of videos there, but they don't, at the time, they hopefully might have changed now. They really didn't like black AR-15 guns. They just, that sort of stuff, quick shooting, rapid fire, even though there is literally a discipline which is rapid fire pistol in the Olympics, which technically comes under the NSRA. But anyway, again, like I want somewhere where I can just turn up and people leave me the hell alone, right? It's like you know what you're doing, we'll leave you to it. If we hear quick shooting, we're just you're giving that gun a good test, and you've probably got a very good big smile on your face. So it looks like we've potentially found somewhere that is more than happy for us to come and do what we need to do, and there's the potential that we may even be expanding their practical capability with the construction at some point of some bays. So that's all very new, very exciting. Nothing confirmed yet, but you'll see it. You know, the first day that we go in and test there, I will say where we are and what we're doing. So yeah, look forward to that. So anyway, long story short, somebody would like to lend a 223 Lantac straight pull to be able to do a review of it, then I should be able to have the place to go and shoot it and test it. Alexander Knight, thanks for joining as always. And now I've lost where I was. Any update on the Magload 4 end? Nope. Callum, never apologise and never explain. I am sorry, but that is just the way it is. I don't know exactly what you're referring to on that, but that is it is a way to live by. English shooting. So if you turn up to the NSRA with an AR, they will kick you out. No, that's not necessarily what I said. It's I just had a number of issues there. This is absolutely years ago now, pretty much when I first started the channel up. So for I think the first sort of year, or for the maybe first/second year that the channel was up, I was living in Godalming, which is like 20 minutes away from Bisley, so it was very easy for me to go there and film. Bisley has always been funny about filming there, about getting, the NRA in terms of wider Bisley. So the NSRA was great. The Lord Roberts Centre is a fantastic facility. It's just really underutilized. It's really underused for what is there. And what was fantastic is that, membership of the NSRA was fairly cheap. And then it was something ridiculous, like, I paid like a £3 or £4 fee to use the range, and like it didn't tend to matter if I was there for like half an hour or I was there for like 4 hours. I still only paid like 3 or 4 quid. And nobody used it. And it's got a 25-yard sort of like, I think it's like an 8 or 10 bay at least covered range, which is perfect for filming. Yeah, okay, you're still outside, you might get cold, but you're not going to get wet because you're covered. And I used to be literally like the only one on there, like on that range. So I like filming it was fantastic because I wasn't, there was nobody else to sort of bother in doing it, and I could do what I want. If I wanted to go to 5 yard and do like a zeroing video or whatever, I could go to 5 yard and not worry about anybody behind me. But there was just I had various encounters. Like the first one, somebody came running out. You can't shoot that here, and I'm like, what do you mean? And they go, well, we've got a 10-round magazine limit. I'm like, what? Now, granted, I didn't just have the 25-round magazines for the 15-22. I did have a 50-round drum mag, so I can understand. I wasn't using the drum mag, but it was there on the table. But they were like, no, we've got a 10-round magazine limit, and I'm like, okay, well, if that is the case, then fair enough. But I've been here a few times. As far as I'm aware, there's not actually any rule on that. Would you mind just going and checking that is the case and that there hasn't been a mistake or confusion? Yeah, sure, no worries. I'm like, look, I'm going to continue shooting. I will use the 10-round magazine for the time being. But if you could go and just check, that would be great. Went away, came back, really apologetic, really sorry. Yeah, that was a mistake. You can use 25-round magazines. You can use 50-round magazines. There's no magazine restrictions. So like, fantastic. No worries. A couple of weeks later, I'm there shooting. Somebody runs out. Stop. You can't shoot that here. And I'm going, like, what? Like, what can't I shoot here? That's a Section 5. I'm like, you mean this semi-auto 2.2 LR rimfire rifle? They were like, yeah, that's Section 5. You can't shoot that here. Bearing in mind, there's literally there was a container full of Section 5 firearms because the armed police did their training there. That's a separate issue. But anyway, I'm like, sorry. You work for the National Small Bore Rifle Association, and you think that a 2.2 semi-automatic rifle is Section 5. I'm this is not a Section 5 firearm, it's Section 1. I will get my FAC out and show you the serial number if you really don't believe me, but a semi-auto rimfire in 2.2 is very much Section 1. I think as the national governing body for 2.2 rimfire rifles, small bore rifles, you probably should know that. Then I had a run-in with a guy, one particular guy. I took a friend. This friend had a shotgun certificate. Was thinking of getting into FAC shooting, and I took him there as a guest. And again, I had the 15-22. We're having a bit of fun. We're shooting quickly, but everything's safe, right? Everything's on target. This guy came out and he spoke to us like petulant children, and we just stood there in shock. And he just spoke to us like we were dirt on his shoe, and it was all because he was an old boy that didn't like modern sporting rifles. He didn't like the AR platform. He didn't like black guns. And he made us feel about this small for dare enjoying to shoot one. And my friend came out and was like, look, I'm sorry, I was having a really good time, but this is what I thought that I'd have to deal with coming into sort of FAC shooting, rifle shooting. And if I have to deal with a person like that, I'm just not going to enjoy it, so I'm not going to bother. And he has never actually applied for his FAC. So, this person cost... an extra person, or and it cost this person effectively getting his FAC, put him off the sport of rifle shooting completely. Still has a shotgun certificate, thankfully, still sort of accounts in the numbers there. And then the final straw for me was same guy again. I'm shooting with a very good friend. It's actually going to be a groomsman for my upcoming wedding, and we're there shooting again safely. I'm on a bipod shooting at 25 yards. I'm rested on the table, and it's just and this is when I'd got into mini rifle, and I'm like, speed. Like, I want to get my finger trigger, my trigger finger going. I'm also testing the rifle. I need to make sure that I can shoot quickly with it. He comes up, doesn't even call stop, right? Comes up and grabs us as we're shooting, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what's going on? Stop! You can't shoot like that here. And I'm like, sorry, shoot like what? And that's I had a strong debate with the gentleman, in which I did also remind him that his attitude absolutely stank. He had already cost or put off one person from getting their FAC, and I wasn't going to really stand for his obvious distaste for a perfectly legal rifle and perfectly sensible, safe shooting. One thing and another, I ended up saying to him, look, go down to that target, and I'd actually managed to finish off the mag. Go down to that target, and if there are not 25, this is before the mag load extensions, if there are not 25 holes in the black down there, then I will pack my stuff up and I will leave. But oh no, it doesn't matter about that. There is a rate of fire limit on this range. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is like the fourth rule now that's been made up. Okay, please go and get me the range rules and demonstrate and show me where there is a rate of fire limit. Because if there is a rate of fire limit, which I doubt there actually is, I need to know what that is. Is it one round a second, or is it one round a minute? Like, I will adhere to the range rules, but you need to show I don't need to go and get that. And I was like, you know what? I literally can't be fucked with this. This is ridiculous. You've obviously got a vendetta about bringing new blood into the sport and using modern sporting rifles. I'm not going to continue to support and be a part of an organization that doesn't recognize this area of the sport. Now, as far as I'm aware, there has actually been massive grounds made with the NSRA in terms of integrating practical shooting. They do seem to be a lot more receptive to practical shooting and quick shooting and stuff like that. So again, this was a number of years ago, but I just sort of left with a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and I was like, it's a shame. It's a fantastic facility. It's underutilized, and I always got the impression that like it wasn't hugely welcomed there. But I don't know, things might have changed. I just don't. It's a lot of effort to pack everything up, to go and drive an hour to a range, to and also it was also quite, when I lived 20 minutes away, this wasn't necessarily an issue, and I'd usually take my shotgun with me anyway so I could go and do clays. But like, I learned very early on, I always had to phone ahead to just double check that they were open, because despite their open times, it was very inconsistent. But yeah, again, this was, this must have been like 5-6 years ago now. Things might have changed, things might have got a lot better, but that was just my experience, and it was like, I don't need to be dealing with this. I'll find somewhere else. But anyway, that's all aside. But no, the NSRA won't necessarily go and kick you out for taking an AR-15. You just might have to deal with a little bit of misconception, maybe a little bit of fuddy, but hopefully, I don't know, again, it's been a long time, they might have changed. Hopefully they have. ARs are very common now, so maybe attitudes have changed. Do you think? Yes, that's more than likely the case. This was back in the day where it was like, if you wanted a AR-15 style rifle, it was the CMMG Landtac, it was the Spikes Tactical from Northwest Custom Parts, it was a 1522, or it was like the Colt M4 Humarex clone. Basically this was really the start of, or the area of the start of mini rifle within the UK. So things have, that was during the period where people would think you were insane for spending £1,500 on a 2.2 AR. Like, people even like would argue about spending £600 on a 1522. They were like, no, you don't need to spend that. You can go and get a 1022. The 1022 is just as good for mini rifle. Now fast forward 5, 6, 7 years, God, now people don't even think about dropping £2,500–3,000 on a battle arms, right? The top 10 mini rifle shooters in the UK are pretty much all using, I would say the top 10 mini rifle shooters in the UK are all using rifles that start at least £1,500 now. That the game has evolved, and it's fantastic to see. But yes, so perhaps people are a little bit more friendly now, and the whole, oh my god, it's a black gun, oh my god, it's an AR-15, even though the people are shooting and they should know that it's lawful, that's a little bit over now. I was told that my little semi CZ in 22 WMR was section 5. No. A semi-auto 22 WMR would be legal. I mean, there's Guncraft that build AR-15s in 22 WMR. Daniel has one, so he can vouch for the fact that they are most definitely legal, unless it's down to the, if you say little semi-auto CZ, is it a small gun? Is the barrel less than 12 inches? Is the overall length less than 24 inches? That there might be another reason rather than the mechanism and the caliber that potentially makes it section 5. But that's but yeah, in terms of a 22 WMR semi-auto, perfectly legal here in the UK. Daniel, my AR is pink, if that helps change their minds. The gun being pink might help. Them having to talk to you, on the other hand, might put us back to square one. A positive note to leave it on. If you fancy getting your hands on a bit of really Gucci gear, then go and check out the Magload page at the moment. There is a giveaway which seems to be going very, very well, very quickly. So people seem to really like this, and it's so if you head over to the Magload Facebook page, I'll put a link. I had one ready for once. I was actually prepared. Let me put this in here so you can click this link directly and it will take you through to this post. If you want to win a Reflex 12, this is the world's first self-collapsing quad loader. Make sure that you like Magload, the page. Make sure that you like this post, the one that I have linked, and also share it. So like the page, like the post, and share, and you'll get to win a you'll get to win a Reflex 12. If you want to learn a little bit more about Reflex, you can go through to the Magload website. You know, the Reflex 12 is 240 quid. It's not exactly a cheap prize, and it's a pretty premium product, but the whole special thing about Reflex, we've got a Reflex 4 there, is that it self-collapses. So it is literally in its collapse form the most compact loader that you can get on the market today. You can see, you know, that's it with cartridges in, really slim, really compact. You know, the 4, and this is something we will do. Actually, I probably, Connor's going to kick me, but you know, the prize is an Exos 12, not an Exos 12, a Reflex 12. If you want 3 4s, if you want an 8 and a 4 instead, if you are a lucky winner, then we'd be more than happy to hook you up with that. But there you go. Those are like all of the states, and you can see how much it collapses by when it hasn't got the cartridges in. And there is a cool video as well of it. So this is just the Reflex 4, and you see a little bit of the Reflex Option 3 loader as well. We may or may not be including one of those with the prize as well. We always like to exceed expectations, but there you go. You can see Connor's pumping away. But yeah, basically when you grab the cartridges, it collapses together and goes really small. So it is the world first, quite innovative, if I don't say so myself. And you can head over to the Magload page, like the Magload page, like this giveaway post, and share it, and you will be automatically in a chance to win. We draw the winner on the 26th of January. We will be in touch. Just a note, we are aware that we had some spammer that created a fake Magload page and was messaging people saying that they had won, asking for card details. We will not ask for card details to claim the prize. And we won't be notifying people, well, we won't be notifying the winner until the 26th of January. So if you receive a message from Magload saying you've won anything, and make sure you click through to the page and check if it's, you know, if it looks dodgy, if it looks like a new page that's just been sprung out of nowhere, then don't interact them, just report that page. Please don't report our page. Just, you know, we won't be contacting people before the 26th. So if you do get any spam or suspicious messages that looks like it's from us, it's not. And if you have any concerns at all, then you can email us at info@magload.co.uk, or you can give us a call. We will happily put your mind at ease if you think anything dodgy is going on. Connor has great wrists after all these years of stroking with Callum. Yes, yeah, he's a natural pumper. I've never seen somebody pump so hard. I was a member of Seven Side for 7 years. It would be a month. It would be monthly. Someone made a comment about shooting quickly or training on a barricade. Richard is a great range owner. Yeah, that's it. You just need to have people, the right people with the right mindset, and then things get a lot better. Flyer. I have a Lantac CMMG Mark IV 22LR, and my FAC renewal has just come back with a 9mm straight pull. I will be getting a Lantac 9. Awesome. I'd really like to review one of those actually. A lot of buzz around it. Yeah, there's a lot of like 9mm guns floating around at the moment. I would like to definitely get hold of them. But yeah, I'm going to wrap that up there, guys. I think there should hopefully Arian is helping, like almost finished a video for this weekend. If it's not Sunday, it will be early next week. And again, if you want to see that recoil Scottish Masters, then go and check out the video on the channel. It's the last one released. The next match video going up, I'm also working on, we went and filmed the Danish Rifle Championships. That will be coming out soon. That's like top priority really for me, or it's very high priority for me. But I'm also, you know, the level 3 videos from last year, I'm now finally getting the time to edit those. So yeah, the next UK level 3 video that will be going out, I think, is going to be the Basildon mini rifle. Needless to say, I will only be in part of that video. But yes, that is going to be the next one. But yeah, I'm going to try and get out as many of those videos as quickly as possible before the season really gets into the swing. But that will be in addition to all the other videos, so should hopefully have a few weeks of 2 videos from the channel plus the live stream. But yes, don't forget, before you all head off, hit that like button. It does make a huge difference to the channel and the analytics in reaching new people and sharing this sport and what we do, and also to help inspire people to protect this sport against all of the constant threats. So make sure you like it. If you like watching the streams, you like watching the videos, and you also want to support this channel, then make sure you are subscribed. That makes a huge difference as well, and you'll get to see all of the content that we release. If you want to support the channel even further, then you can become an Only ES Fans team member. So there's a little join button somewhere on your screen. You can click that and you can sign up. You get access to special emojis. There will be like private messages, and I do want to get into the sort of unique content. Just want the membership sort of to build up a little bit more, just so I've got that sort of sub community there of the true fans of the channel. So yeah, if you want to support that way, but you know, you don't have to. And if you want any cooler merch, yes, I did actually treat myself to a brand new clean cap, which is going to live here in the room and not get dirty and be nice and shiny, hopefully for a lot longer. Then you can head over to EnglishShooting.org. There's all sorts of patches, stickers, caps, all sorts of merch. That all again goes back into supporting and running this channel, and there's loads of guys, all of the videos to get into the sport of shooting are all on EnglishShooting.org as well. So all of the guides for starting your journey into shooting sports are on there. But yes, there we go, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this stream. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead. I hope you all manage to get down to the range and throw some lead down to the other side of it. But yeah, have a fantastic week ahead. Thanks for joining. Hope you've enjoyed it, and of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.